So now I'm switching gear here quite quickly to the analytics services. So Martin mentioned that the full mobile SDK, mobile core services SDK is included. So that means that we're tracking everything live that's going on here. So now I'm pulling data. Well, the first screen you see here is the KPIs, it's the key performance indicators. And I can customize this based on what I want to track. So you have crashes, you have session length, you can see where people are when they're using it and so on. And you can define exactly what you want to track here. So this is kind of the first dashboard of getting understanding for what's happening here. So if I go to the configuration setting, you can see I have a drop-down menu there, and I can select key metrics. What do I want to see on this KPI dashboard when I log in? So you can see I've pre-selected user launches and so on. I also enabled location reports. I'm not sure if you can see that, but that's giving me functionality like, for example, geo-fencing. So I can do messaging based on where you are or where the users are they're using the app. So I can, if time permits, I will go back to that a little bit later. And down in the bottom, I'm just uploading the Adobe Enterprise certificates for Apple's push services here. That's where I upload that. So very, very briefly, what I can track here is exact user per day, what you are doing. And I can create reports from here. And I can customize these reports as well. So I can, for example, adding filters to these reports. And we actually did that. So the engineering team was based in Poland. So we decided to filter out Poland when we check exactly who's actually using it. But otherwise, we get tons of hits from Poland, right? So we're adding filters. You have funnel reports and you have view path report. The view paths show you exactly how people navigate inside the app. So this is pretty interesting. You can see how they go from one screen to another screen here. This is the technology tracking, where we track exactly what kind of devices they are using, how, where they are, what carrier they're using, and so on. We also have acquisition support here, and that's something Martin mentioned that we're looking into maybe next year. So we can see from exactly what campaign, for example, you download the app. So if we have a QR code or we have a campaign on the website, we have a tracking code, and we can actually see exactly from where people download the app. But more important here, messaging. So I will spend a little bit of time here. So there are two types of messaging services you can do here. It's in-app messaging and it's operating system-driven push. So in-app messaging is really where you can, the app needs to be active, but you can trigger a message based on activity inside the app. So for example, if somebody do something inside the app or click on a specific section, you can trigger an in-app message and you have full kind of HTML design freedom there. But for this example, I will go to operating system-driven push instead. So it's really a three-step process. First, I need to create a segment, an audience segment. So I go down to what we call custom segments here. And I will select, in this scenario, I will select user type. So I select user type from the menu. So user type equal to, and I will use what I was logged in as before, VIP user, basically exec. So I will select that, and that gives me a target group of 62 individuals. If I want to narrow that down, I can go to, for example, during the days there, and go down from 30 days to limit that to like, for example, 5 or even down to 3 days. And that will kind of give me a little bit of different number in the target audience group for this message. If I want to target everyone, I can basically go to add, I can add a new segment and say, I want to go to operating system type equal to Android and iOS. We didn't develop this on Windows, so if I target these two operating systems, everyone will get this message. So that's kind of defining the target group or audience for this. And the next step is create experience. So first I just name it. And this is just for my own tracking, so it doesn't nobody see that. So in this scenario, I named it coffee, I think it's coffee break message. So this has kind of defined it between all the messaging I'm sending here. So coffee break message. And then I go to the specific content. And this is where I type the live push here. So coffee will be served in the lobby. And while I type, you can see it's actually create a live preview up in the corner. So while I type here, you can see exactly how this would look like. In this example, I will use the advanced options. And the reason for that is it gives me a little bit more functionality. So I click on advanced and I will add a payload data package. It's basically a JSON code snippet. And to make it easy, I just use an Excel file and I copy from the Excel or paste it in here. So I take my code and I paste it in there. And then I start by giving it a title. So coffee, I think it was coffee break. And then you can see, I hope you can see that, but it says deep linking there. That means that I can do deep linking in the push message. So that means when you get the push, you click on the push, it can take you somewhere inside the application, right? So what I do is to give it a link text. Let's say, see the floor map or see the floor plan for more information, right? That's specific link text. And then I need to paste in the link. So the easiest way to do that is to go back to the Experience Manager in the cloud, go to the content section, as I showed you before, drill down in the app kind of structure of all the content. I go to the floor map or the venue map. So this is what I showed you in the beginning. I click Edit, I open this in authoring mode, and I copy the URL up in the browser. So I copy the section of the URL, and then I go back to my push message dashboard, and I basically paste that URL in my data package. And that's it. There you go. So again, what happened? You get the push notification. I click on it. It opened the app and showed me the floor plan or the floor map. The last thing I do here in this section is basically the scheduling all this. When should this be released? So today and 2:30 p.m. Central Europe Summer Time. So that would be 1:30 p.m. UK time, I guess. That is when we actually send this. So you can stack this up. And that have been particularly useful for an event app where we don't really have time to do any mistakes. So we can prepare this in detail and just timing everything when this go away. Okay, so this was a very, very brief, quick dive into the back end and the workflow. I think we have 10 minutes left. So I think we have a couple of minutes for me to show a couple of things live. So this is really optional. If you want to see a little bit of live data, let's switch over to my, is that okay? Yeah. So let's switch over to my Mac and see if I can get a connection here. So now I'm going to do a refresh, and I probably have to log in again. It looks like it stayed logged in. So now it's pulling live data from what's happening actually now into the KPIs dashboard, as I showed you before. And you can definitely see a spike there in usage. And what I wanted to show you is, I mentioned geo-fencing in the beginning, and I get lots of questions about that. Lots of companies talking about it, but I would like to show you basically how we can do that. If that is okay, everyone? So the first thing I do is to go to Places, and I create a point of interest here. And obviously I want to do the venue here, right? So the easiest way I do it is to go to Google Maps. So this is a little bit of a tip here. I go to Excel London, and I just select this, right click and say what's here, and this will give you the coordinates of where we are exact now. So I take these coordinates, this is the longitude and latitude, and I paste that in here. I think I got all the numbers there, I'm not sure. You can tell we are in London because it's 0 on the longitude. So I name it, and I give it like a radius of 200, and let's see if I can zoom in here. Exactly, that's where we are. And I'll save this. Hope it's okay, Martin. This is actually live, so I will be very careful what I'm doing here. Okay, so now it's saved, and then I go to messaging services again, but this time I will do an in-app message and not a push. So now I will create an in-app message, and first I define what's the trigger for this message. What's the trigger? And the trigger in this scenario is we're launching the app, because it's last day. We're launching the app the last day of the event. And who should receive it? Well, in this scenario, I go to places, geofencing, equal to, and here's my point of interest. I will not click save and push here, but you get the message. This is actually how I can target a specific message. So what's happening now is, if I would save this, is that when you open the app, it will give you a specific message, for example, saying, thank you, see you next year. Does it make sense? Right? So the absolute last thing is, see if I can log in here again. We just have 5 minutes left, so then I will hand over to you again. So this is actually where we are automate the sending of these reports. So this is something that Martin have been doing to the entire team working on this project. So this is where you can customize the report. So instead of versions, maybe I want to have information about installs, and you can see it kind of rendering direct here, what's happening. And then you can time this and say, you know, I want this report to be sent automatically to this team daily, as we have been doing, or weekly.